Yes, people, good evening and welcome back to Lead Judges TV. As ever, I'm your host, Dan Potts, and I'm with two other gentlemen that need no introductions. Lead Judges himself, and we've got Kenny Ken with us. Kenny, how you doing, bro?
I'm still in shock. I'm still very down about the performance because, I think there was no positive performance. The only positive about yesterday was that we only lost 3-0. Because if Palace beat us 4 or 5, I don't think any Arsenal fan will have any complaints whatsoever. I mean, trying to sort of, clutch at straws about, the penalty debate and whether we should have got a penalty at the other end with Saka is just clutching at straws for me because it was one of the worst performances ever. We got worked out in every department. Not one player came out of any credit whatsoever. A lot of the people who I call the Joe Root characters in our team, the Melty Bar kids who give out all the Milky Bars. There's no way any of them come out of any credit. It was a car crash from start to finish, from the kickoff.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. Judges, let's bring you in, man. You didn't go to the game. Me and Kenny did. Me and Kenny were still pretty close to each other. You didn't go to the game, but you saw that shambles. Your thoughts and how it's left you feeling in the top 4 race, Judges?
Yeah, disappointed. Before we start, we're gonna spot the mistake, and you get a prize. Okay. Don't say nothing. If you spot a mistake, there is a prize for someone that puts it in the chat. We go over it or in the comments and whatever, and I will send them something. There you go. I don't know what, but we'll send something out from Lead Judges TV. Yeah, what can you say about yesterday? Do you know what really has got on my goat? Everything about it, really. I didn't actually expect us to be as poor as what we were. Yes, we can always lose games of football. That can happen to anybody. But it was the way we lost is a worry. Now, I'm going to be really honest about things. The whole fan base is really getting on my nerves at the moment. I'm going to say it. Really, you've got the ones that have lost the game. Because we lost the game, you have all the people going, oh, let's get Mikel Arteta out and whatever after that result, And then you've got all the ones that are on the Mikel Arteta side. How dare you say that? How dare you say that? Then make up excuse after excuse for that performance. Why don't you just come out and just say it was an awful performance from top to bottom from the manager and whatever? No, he shouldn't be sacked after one defeat and all that. I agree with that. But listen, fans have got their opinions, and if you feel that you're not happy with Mikel, come out and say it. Don't just the defending of this man at times is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. We have lost 9 games. Right, and I'm looking on Twitter today, and people are lauding that he's got, he's doing a good job. But ultimately, it's not to be lauded at. Like some of the people that I know that are lauding Arteta were the first in the queue to condemn Emery and Wenger. I have to be honest, it's unbelievable. Get behind the team. I hear people saying, get behind the team, support the team, And when you do support the team, half of them are leaving before the final whistle. But then on social media, they're saying, get behind the team. You ain't a supporter because you ain't doing this and you ain't saying that. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, as an Arsenal fan, as a fan of a football club, and as a supporter, I am entitled to criticise and praise who I like. And after a performance like that yesterday, there is got to be criticism. Martinelli, I said before the game, should have started that game for the hundreds of reasons that I've always said. But this manager, and under Mikel Arteta, he cannot wait to leave him out for whatever reason. I don't understand it. He should be the first name on the team sheet because he does exactly what we want all the time. The ruthlessness of him to get off Nuno, brilliant. If that's how you feel about it, the ruthlessness for that. What about the ruthlessness for Lacazette, who's just doing just as crappy a job as he is at left back up front for us? Like toothless up there, He's saying that it ain't all Mikel's fault. I'm going to say this now on his defence. I'm sure he goes into the dressing room, and I said to you, Dan, earlier on, I can safely say, look, if I'd have played yesterday, right, with Wendy, I would have had a better touch than Odegaard. And I've got a better touch than Odegaard on a performance like that. He was absolutely woeful. He wasn't the only one. He couldn't pass Windcast, couldn't pass Walker, couldn't pass anything. Absolutely horrendous. Defensively, bullied. Gabriel bullied. I've heard people turn around and say, "Oh, we didn't play Martinelli because he was playing for Brazil." You know what I mean? Like, unbelievable. We've had 3 extra days off compared to other teams. Say it how it is. Manager made mistakes. So, you know what I mean? We all everybody makes mistakes. I'm sure VIEIRA make mistakes. These people are afraid to come out and say, got scored by Patrick Vieira. There ain't no shame in that. He's a top class manager and a top class player in his day. The reason that Vieira is doing so well at Crystal Palace because he's made mistakes at other clubs and he's not making those mistakes now. He's learned his trade. Mikel's learning his trade on the job. So, yes, he's going to make mistakes. But ultimately, Martinelli, don't make any excuses. That was the biggest blunder that he made in the night by not playing Martinelli. Now, people go, oh, well, are you going to leave out Smith Rowe? Yes, if you have to leave out Smith Rowe. Ultimately, what he done in that game was meant that by playing, this is what is really unbelievable. Playing Martinelli in that not playing Martinelli in that first half meant that Crystal Palace could squeeze right up into the halfway line, right? Suffocate our midfield and then press us up front. Right now, if Martinelli's playing, that can happen. But what's on then? The long ball over the top. So they have to be fearful of that. You cannot allow someone like Martinelli to run 30, 40 yards in. So they would have dropped off a little bit, and then that might have allowed our midfield to play. In the second half, by the way, Crystal Palace went, right, okay, we're 2-0 up, we're drop deep, right? We're drop deep. And we don't have to worry about the spacing behind. We'll let Arsenal have all as much possession as they can because we're 2-0 up. What happens? We create chances because Martinelli's getting in the thing. He should have started. No arguments about it. He should be first name on the list. And I'm now fed up with it, right? I'm fed up with Martinelli or Smith Rowe or even Pepe, your mate, Dan, being left out, right? Left out for someone that is not doing his job. End of. But other than
fair
that,
play. Fair play. Other than that, you're right.
That was a bit of a parade, wasn't it, mate?
I think it's fair play what you're saying. And Ken, I want to bring you in before I have my say on this because I do think, you and I were there watching it, with our own eyes last night. We supported the team and we thought to ourselves, wow, one of these performances.
I stayed to the end, by the way. I stayed to the end, by the way.
To the end. And well done, Kenny. And you know what? I will say one of these games because we've seen this before, Kenny, this season. We've seen it at Brentford. It reminded me very much of Brentford. Everton away, a little bit of that in it as well. We've been to Old Trafford where we've had results like this. Burnley at home. Palace, by the way, at home was a very, very difficult performance for us to look at. So I suppose it shouldn't shock us. It certainly doesn't shock me that we've got this still in us. But what did you make of the performance last night as opposed to the result, Kenny?
Well, it's not just a result. It was the whole performance. You can't take anything away from Crystal Palace. Let's be honest with ourselves as Arsenal fans.
They were fantastic.
Think about football fans. Crystal Palace did their homework from when they played at the Emirates, when they should have battered us, where they got in our face in the second half. We were 1-0 up. They went 2-1 up. And then, they won the midfield battle. They managed to, restrict our overlaps. And then just through, few, bloody mindedness and pressure, we managed to get an equaliser in the dying moments of the game. But on yesterday, from the first, like tackle, from kickoff, they're all over us. They got their tactics spot on. We were more worried about Elise not playing. We actually forgot about that work rate, and I think what we did really wrong was two things. We had square pegs run around holes. Lee's 100% right. Martinelli has to start, and even in the second half, I think the person who gets away with a lot of gets away from a lot of criticism was Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe was actually atrocious in that first half. He played us into trouble a lot. He didn't work Nathaniel Klein. It was an easy game. And what's happening is that we weren't able to stretch teams because Smith Rowe's best position is actually playing through the middle in a kind of Frank Lampard role where all Frank Lampard, Allard, Terry McDermott, David Platt role, where he can just make late runs in the box and, he's changed the pace. But he hasn't got the pace like Martinelli to stretch teams and then bring and create the overlaps. And that is where we went wrong. And that's where we have a square peg running around holes. But it's even, like the goals itself. We're all going to blame Tavares, and rightly so, he's an escape goal. But let's not forget the fact that this is where we went wrong. Our centre halves killed us yesterday, murdered us. Because what he did is that one of the things you can't do is let the ball bounce. Because when you let the ball bounce, you're heavily reliant on your pace and the fact that the opposition is playing a conservative way, or he's sitting back for you to get the ball, get out and play it. Crystal Palace won't allow us to do that. Did you see any of the defenders bring the ball out? Like, Ben White normally brings the ball out in a lot of matches. Yesterday, he didn't have a chance to do that because Conor Gallagher was straight in his face and he cut off the yards and restricted us. So I was screaming in the second half when the ball was bouncing, for God's sake, Gabriel, don't let the ball bounce. He's right behind him. Gallagher was right on him. And then when he tries to pass the ball back to Ramsdale, those yards are cut. So when the yards are cut, Ramsdale can't play those pinging passes to, down the wings because he can't do it. He has to play it through the middle. And when he was playing it through the middle, he's giving the ball back to Palace. And that was another thing we were wrong. Another criticism I have of Arteta as well is that we're 2-0 down, albeit we're creating chances. And then what he does, obviously he's taking off Tavares, but he's taking off, Cedric. I don't know if he's injured or not. And then all of a sudden he's gone to win back. So he's got our most potent player on the right, Saka, is now playing left wing back. And he's got Martinelli, who's just come on, who's stretching teams, on the right-hand side. That's basically, as far as I'm concerned, giving the game to Palace. It's the white flag. It didn't work. It did not work. And one of the massive themes about this team is if you take away our main players, then we've got a problem. Regardless how badly Thomas Partey plays, in that midfield, without him in that midfield, we can't win the battle. Without Tierney at that left back, we're going to struggle because what Arteta is going to foolishly do is that he's not going to back Tavares. He's going to say, right, Granit Xhaka, you play at left back, and then he's going to try and compromise our midfield. Because if he does that, what's going to happen is that teams who normally do not have the energy to sustain that pressing game over 90 minutes, which Crystal Palace did, and Liverpool, did at Anfield, are going to think, right, this is easy now. We're going to have a go because there's no way there's any power in midfield. So what will happen is that Odegaard, who's playing good football, i.e. he's getting closer to Lacazette and he's getting closer to Martinelli, he's just got to come back in midfield and play deep. That's no good to us. He's playing his best football further up the field and closer to the forwards. So again, that's where Mikel Arteta's got to do his own work. He's got to trust Albert and he's got to get Tavares and build him up because he's destroying that guy's confidence. Regardless of how bad we think, the fact is we need Tavares on his game and believing that he's the best left back in the country. Now, I'm not saying he is, but in order to get performances out of him, in order to give us the balance that we've had in many and loads of games, he's got to be playing that left back because there's no good waiting for Tomiyasu. Tomiyasu's done this season. If he can't get fit, he hasn't managed to get fit since January, then he's not going to be 100% fit when we force him in the team. So that is an idea, play Tomiyasu at the left back and then keep Cedric. But if we try to unbalance the team, then all I can see is even further carnage. Not so much against Brighton, but Southampton, who again play in a very robust style and they press and they play a lot of energy. Unlike Crystal Palace, they don't have the athletes, so they're not able to sustain it for 90 minutes. But they're good enough to go 2 goals up and then hold what they got. But I'm talking about Chelsea. I'm talking about Spurs. May. I'm talking long term. Obviously, you say take one game at a time, but this is very worrying. The fact that because we've lost who I believe is our best player, Partey, and our number one left back, Tierney, I generally fear our manager is going to compromise our shape and our tactics in order to just get a team out and try and prepare square pegs round holes. This is the biggest test of his management because I've been critical. I've asked for him to be replaced, but regardless of what a lot of people have said, and I know a lot of them come on your show, I'm not going to name them. We know they are. I watched your show on Sunday, and I don't have to go into it. Lee, by the way, you did fantastically well to stand your ground. I owe you a beer. I know you're a half pint merchant, but you're getting a full pint, mate, for the way you stood up. And fantastic presentation, because everything I heard was an excuse, was moving the goalpost back. When you're in a position of getting in the top four, regardless of whether you deserve it or not, or whether it's not on the, how do I say it, within expectations. When you're there and you're in it, you've got to make sure you get it, and you've got to find a way to spend that position. So there can be no excuses if this fails, because we've known about the fact that the squad we have is quite thin. We're aware that injuries can happen, but we're now in this position. So Arteta's got to find a way. And if he doesn't find a way, then I will criticise him, because the simple reason is that a man who was on the transfer committee, he's not just a coach, he's a team manager, alongside Per Mertesacker on the transfer committee, alongside Ed on the transfer committee, and Vinny on the transfer committee, had an opportunity in January to get new signings in. We're not just talking forwards, I'm talking about beefing it up, because they knew with the form we were, our improvement from late December onwards, that it's highly likely we're going to be in a top four battle. So they knew that if there were any injuries, we're going to be thin, and that's where we're going to be tested. So that's on the manager. So he's going to have to work with what he got. And this is not a rant to ask him to go. These are expectations which all big clubs have to face. So no excuses, no going, oh, you can't have a go if he gets us into Europe. Well, let's not forget that Arsenal got sacked for not getting the top four. Unai Emery got sacked for not getting the top four. So please don't make it up as you go around. Stop lying to your public and your viewers who actually look up to you a lot and look and see you as people who are level-headed and believe in the fact that you speak a lot of sense, that you're actually speaking for them. If you're going to take that responsibility and put yourself in the public domain, then tell the truth, all right? Put aside your other ambitions and your other sidelines, getting on Sky and all that rubbish, to tell the fans the truth, because they deserve it. They subscribe to your channel and make all your channels. So tell them the truth. Tell them what happened today. Tell them that Arteta got it wrong. Tell them that we're in a precarious position, that the squad's too thin, and that we have genuine fears, and that we want Arteta. These are the areas where Arteta's got to improve. And if he doesn't improve, then we're well within our rights to criticise him. That's not being negative or positive. It's telling the truth.
Ken, that is 100% right. I will say this about Arteta, and this is what really gets you know what I mean? I don't think that I, for one, was very, very disappointed about yesterday, but I'm not calling for his head and saying that he should be sacked or whatever this moment. At this moment in time, I think he's still doing a good job. What I did like about Arteta is, as much as he got it wrong yesterday, and this is what really annoyed, what he come out with afterwards, after the game and everything like that, was quality. That's what you want.
I didn't see the interview, so look. Let me tell you something about Mick Arteta, and I want to get this nonsense and this, fairy tales Walt Disney scripts out of the way. It's not personal about Mick Arteta. I've got nothing against it. I actually acknowledge I acknowledge when he is trying to put things right. I agree with him on Aubameyang, that he had to win that battle. And I never once thought that him and Aubameyang were going to work together, not because of the disciplinary reasons, because of the footballing reasons and what Arteta I thought Arteta needed. So I backed him on that. So it can't be personal. My attitude, my thing is that he hasn't got enough experience.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, Ken, is that there's a lot of fans out there that are very they're reluctant to criticise Arteta.
Why though, Lee? Why do you think that is? I get this.
They're quick enough. They're quick enough to criticise players like Aubameyang or whatever. They're very, very quick to criticise fans that don't agree with it or whatever. But ultimately, Mikel Arteta yesterday come out and said, "No, I'm at fault here." He knew that he made mistakes yesterday. And I'll tell you what, I admire him for that. He's come out and said, you know, I've made mistakes. I ain't going to tell you what the mistakes are, but he knows that he made mistakes yesterday. So you've got the man himself saying that I'm making mistakes. So for me, you know, as a fan, I feel right. Yeah, great, mate. Tell him to, you know, yes, you did. You got it all wrong yesterday, but the whole thing was wrong from top to bottom. Players didn't play well. The manager was awful as well. It's the whole package. Now, when Arsenal win, you know, you've got certain fans going, "It's all about Mikel. It's all about Mikel." No, it's not. It's when we win, everybody wins together. When we lose, it's everybody's fault. And that is the thing that I have to applaud Mikel Arteta for yesterday. Yeah. He come out and said, "No, I'm wrong here, and I apologise." And all that. I haven't seen that from a manager for a very, very long while, and I like that.
You see it from the odd manager in there, you know.
Yeah.
You know,
well, I like that.
Jurgen Klopp has said it. I'm not saying what Mikel did wasn't on you, because you know it was a good position, and you know you've got to respect the fact that he was protecting his boys. He should protect his boys, but it's all well and good protecting your boys. But the fact is, you killed one of your boys by taking him for half time to bring on Martinelli. You killed Tavares. You killed Tavares against Nottingham Forest, because as far as you're concerned, the reason why Forest were ruining us was because Spence was ruining Tavares, and it was all down at Tavares. So we had to make some changes. So it's all well and good talking about it, but in terms of what you did, because remember, you're going to need Tavares on the Saturday afterwards, because Kieran Tierney's done this season. Right, regardless of whether you want to put square pegs or round holes, if you're backing your boys and saying it's all me, then you got to basically put your arm around Tavares and get him playing for us.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because it was my next topic. Let's talk. One second,
I always said this. If you have a look at an interview I've done on that game against Nottingham Forest, that was a bad call from the manager, because it's put him in a position here now. Now, the last two games that Tavares has started, right? Yes, he's been poor, and it was Nottingham Forest in this one, but he weren't the only one. He wasn't the only one. He was not the only one that had a poor game against Forest.
Why didn't he go like for like? Because I was talking to you, Dan, about it, and I was talking to a few people who were next to me, and the consensus opinion yesterday, because we were right in front of it, that Smith Rowe wasn't getting anything out of Klein. In order to keep the balance aside, was basically get Martinelli on, hook off Smith Rowe, and then basically let's see if we can get that overlapping. Maybe Tavares can go in a more advanced position, and then him and Martinelli, because we're 2-0 down. Because when you're 2-0 down, you've got nothing to lose, have you? Because, all right, I think psychologically you're going to want to keep it tight. But the fact is, if we got an early goal in that second half, then it will change things. But to take off an orthodox left back and then play Granit Xhaka at left back, who, come on, one of his first stats was get ruined by AU. I mean, that led to that free kick when he ruined Xhaka, and then he passed the ball to Schlopp, and then Partey had to take him out, take one for the team, because Xhaka got mullered when he was basically 70-30 in his favour. It was right in front of us, Dan. You saw it.
Yeah.
So it's not as if, you know, Xhaka was a glowing success at left back. And anyway, we're going to need Xhaka in the midfield anyway, with Partey being out. So don't just kill your midfield by playing Xhaka at left back.
Let's get a little bit let's get a little bit back on track here because we're going all over the place. Before I do that, well done to a few of you because you've spotted the error. It's been corrected now, by the way. Neil, congratulations. You spelt Vieira wrong. Jack, spelt Vieira wrong. Johnny, spelt Vieira wrong. Yes, we did, but it's now been corrected in the thumbnail. So well spotted, as Lee said at the start of the show. Spot the mistake. Let's get a little bit of an...
Before we go there, I've just... out of random, just done a thing there, and the one that's come up is Neil Dunn, is it? So Neil, send us your address, DM us a like, and we'll send you something like. So well done for spotting
Neil.
Well done. Box set Top Boy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll tell you what, I'd rather watch Top Boy than that yesterday. I'll tell you, like,
yeah, I would have, mate. I'd rather have watched all 3 seasons. Let's talk a little bit about it. Lee, you mentioned it, but I not just want to talk about Tavares. I want to get your opinions on the defence because this is a defence which is apparently fixed and now solid, and it certainly wasn't last night. So I want to ask what you think went wrong there, but also, do you honestly think, and say if you do, because I looked at both goals again, and I don't see one player there as to blame. Tavares was involved. Gabriel, for me, needs to take more blame for both goals, in my opinion, not just Nuno Tavares. I think there was a bit of an issue with heading from both Gabriel and Tavares for the first goal. But I ain't having it that it's Tavares' fault just alone for the second, because Gabriel's missed the clearance completely, and it's gone through to Ayew, which was a great finish, by the way. So I'm not sticking all the blame on Nuno Tavares. So I want to get, first of all, your opinions on that. And then what I want to say is, do we feel, honestly, that we can say that Arteta has managed Nuno Tavares properly by hooking him against Forest and now against Crystal Palace, Lee?
Well, first of all, the defence got bullied by their centre forward, like, you know, and put us into a frenzy. You know, like, he done it very, very well with Gabriel. The first goal was down to Ben White because Ben White's trying to get his authority back in there, try and bully him back, gives away a foul. And then they lump it in there. Yes, it could have been a foul on Tavares at the back post, if I'll be honest, but not enough for me. Not strong enough. Free header in the 6-yard box, goal. Poor defending all round. But listen, we haven't defended poorly for a very, very long time. It's been our strength, but we got bullied. And we've not been bullied probably since the Brentford game. If I'll be honest, the same sort of player, Tony. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see. I'd love to watch. I'd love to see Arsenal bully a defence like that. I haven't seen it. It's not when we're not going to see it. So it's unfortunate from that point. Then Tavares is not at fault for the second goal. In one respect, he is, and one respect, he's not. Gabriel does his job properly and clears it up. He shouldn't be. But once he didn't clear it up, his positioning was all wrong. He wasn't inside of the player, which he should have been. So if he comes inside, if he would have been up inside of him, he then he can't get in that position. One touch, good touch it was. It kills Tavares. Tavares couldn't defend from where in the position that he was in. So from that point of view, it's poor. Ultimately, like, you know, you've hooked Tavares off against Nottingham Forest after 20 minutes. The next game you play him is in a very, very difficult game at Crystal Palace away from home. It's a complete, you know, for a fella, by the way, that I haven't seen play or start since that game against Forest. How long ago was that? In January, like, you know. It's very, very difficult to come in and just say, right, you're playing. Now, ultimately, you know, I think that he'd do a fight. He'd be all right against Brighton because it's more of an attacking game, like, you know. So I think you've got to give him the gamble and go for it, like, you know. So for me, I think that I said it all along. That first 20 minutes to take a player off and then not go on and win the game, it was poor management, like, you know. And I said that would come back and bite him, and it has. Defensively, look, listen, it was like watching us 5-6 years ago when we got bullied and everything like that. We've not been bullied. Look, let's just go. I think at the end of the day, let's give Crystal Palace a lot of credit. Let's give VIEIRA a lot of credit. We just had a bad day. We cannot afford to have any more of them. Like, learn from your mistakes. Now, the good thing with Arsenal is that after all these poor performances, we've learned from them, like, you know. And I do think that, you know, we felt there was a little bit, not arrogance, just it felt like, oh, well, we know we'll win this game and whatever. Like, I think that's a big, massive call Massive wake-up call for the Arsenal, for the manager, because he didn't see it coming, for the fans, because I didn't see it coming. I didn't see that sort of defensive woeful performance coming in there, And now, Dan, it's time for people to step up. Whoever comes in, forget about Tommy Asu. Kenny's right about that. He ain't due back into training for another 2 weeks. Then you're not going to. I can't see us chucking him against Man United and Chelsea, and then we've got other guys. I just don't see when we're going to chuck him in. If I'll be honest. So unless he has some real fantastic training sessions. So it's tough. Listen, our defence has been okay and done us proud. It has got to perform. We the way we set up, we can't afford to go a goal down. I was talking to Russ about this earlier on. We can't afford to go a goal down because we've not got 2 goals in us. So what we need to do is defend properly. And we're going to have to go to Chelsea, West Ham, Tottenham and Newcastle, right? That's our away games, and Southampton. So 5 away games out of those 9 where we have got to defend well, make sure we don't make sure that we keep clean sheets and maybe nick games 1-0 defensively like we did against Villa. So it's just going to be very, very, very tough. But if we defend like we did yesterday, I'm afraid we ain't gonna get in a conference, let alone Europe, top 4, because that was poor. That was poor from Gabriel yesterday. It's not the first time he's been poor over the last few weeks. He's got to get his act together. I'm a big, big fan of his, as we all are, but he's got to perform a lot better. Ben White, again, when it mattered yesterday, was not up for the calls. But I also will say, in their defence, it's not, they've got both of our fullbacks out. It makes it a little bit more difficult. But ultimately, we didn't defend properly on the night, and it's got us, and I can't say any more than that, really.
No, I'm with you. Ken, does it worry you that although we've had more clean sheets this year, we've conceded 5 goals less than we did last season, and we've got 9 games left to play? That doesn't sound like a defence that's fixed. It sounds like a defence that still needs a little bit of work. Is that harsh, or is that fair to say to you, mate?
I think now, with the fact that we got Kieran Tierney injured, that's going to be a massive concern because of the fact that last thing we want is for the defence to be lopsided, or for him to go back to the back 3 that he favoured for parts of last season. Obviously, he favoured for in an FA Cup run. We're a better side when we play 4-3-3. So in respect to that, on a whole, defensively, we've been a lot better. But it's not just the fact that we've been better as a 4. It's been better as a team because, let's not forget the first 3 games were absolute disasters where we didn't score a goal. And we conceded, we conceded, we conceded 9 goals in our first 3 games. So that was a deficit in itself. And obviously, if you look at the Liverpool game again, that was a disaster. Man United, we conceded 3. But in saying that, I think our biggest concerns has never really been our defence, because if you look at
no, I agree with that 100%.
Where the top four is going to be decided, unfortunately, it's going to be the fact that we don't score enough goals. If you look at the top 4 sides in terms of the goals scored in the league, it's Tottenham, the 2 Manchester clubs, from what I've seen, and Liverpool. So in that respect, that's what's going to hurt us, because goal at the moment, Spurs are on top of us by goal difference, and because of they're pummeling of Newcastle. So one of the issues that I think, if you go on every show, not just your show, but there's League Owners show, you go on even AFTV, you go on Hybrid Squad. The biggest concern always has been not so much defence, which I think a lot of people were a lot more confident in, apart from yesterday. It's the forwards. We're heavily relying on Smith Rowe and Saka to get our goals, and they're actually doing their job, because if normally when you get in the top 4, you want goals from Smith Rowe, Saka, plus Martinelli, and plus Lacazette. Lacazette's is the debate that I'm not going to go through, because it's there for itself. There's just no productivity there. But we'd like more goals from Martinelli as well. But I think it's all about wins now. Obviously, clean sheets are very important. You know, Lee knows me very well. I pride myself on defending an organisation, and I think that, you know, there is always a go-to method that Arteta loves. Or you go 1-0 up in the 70th minute and bring Rob Holding on because teams bombard it. But I think our biggest concern, it wouldn't be the defence as such, more the attack. But I get where you're coming from with that left back concern. That could be an area as well. Another thing as well is that, you know, Cedric got isolated yesterday big time with Zaha. A lot of people talk about Tavares and how he struggled. Let's not forget Cedric was given a run around, not just by Zaha. It's the fact that, you know, Mateta run those channels, and he also had in the corner of your eye whether Conor Gallagher was going to go down that channel as well. So he wasn't protected. You know, poor old, Saka had to try and help out because there was nothing for him in terms of like trying to hurt Crystal Palace down and right. So you've got a point, it's defensive, but I think our concerns are more pressing when it comes to the attack.
100% agree, mate. I think up top. Let's talk a little bit about that now, Lee. Let's come to you. Lacazette. Aubameyang has been gone since January and he's still the top scorer in terms of strikers. Lacazette's had 4 months extra in the Premier League and he's still not managed to catch up with him. That's a massive worry. I know that he gets a lot of credit, should I say, for his hold-up play, his link-up play, and the fact that he gives 100% and works hard. For me, that's not enough. And I feel now like it could have been one of the biggest risks. I always thought it was a risk, to be fair, not to replace Aubameyang. And it's not just about not having a striker, it's about not having the goals. And Lacazette at the moment isn't really playing as a striker because he's kind of invisible. And also, he's not scoring the goals either. So is it time for Lacazette to be moved out the side? Or do you think Arteta will get the best out of him?
I think it's something that he's got to solve. I can't see in the next week Lacazette playing, Southampton, Chelsea, Man United. He can't do that. Physically, he can't do that. I see him struggling at Aston Villa with 20 minutes to go, and we've got bigger and tougher games. What he needs to do is find a solution for this. You know what I mean? Like the end of I'm in a position where it's all right saying, he holds the ball up and all that lot. But what we're doing is by playing Lacazette and he's having no threat whatsoever, we're either leaving out Martinelli as we did yesterday, or we're leaving out Smith Rowe. I'm not having it no more. You know, he's not. You know, Arteta has got to find a solution to this. He's got to either go somewhat like, we have arguments with Kevin about this, about playing Pepe up there as the false nine, or whoever like, and we can't do that. Could anybody do any worse than what he done? I'm going to say that now. I could not do any worse than what Lacazette did yesterday. He done absolutely nothing. He didn't hold the ball up. He didn't contribute. The one tackle that he had to make, he lost that, and that's what caused the goal. You know what I mean? Like, there was so many things. You cannot, and at the end of it, it doesn't look like he's got a goal in him. I'm sorry, you know what I mean? Like, he has to now look to change that around. I am fed up with, even though we've won a few games in that, I keep going about leaving out Martinelli or leaving out Smith Rowe for someone that is not doing their job. Now, he's ruthless with certain other areas. Ruthless. Been ruthless with the goalkeeper. Let's be honest, Leno, ruthless. Right or wrongly, right, I would have to say, ruthless. He's been ruthless with Nuno. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, there's no way that I don't think Lokonga has done that bad in certain games, but ruthless, out he comes. But it's now time. It is now time to try another solution. If Pepe feels better, bring him in. I want that freshened up top because it's not working. 2-3 games now. We've failed not to score in 2 of them. So 1 goal in 3 games. It's drying up, right? So it's not working. Something needs to be done. Something needs to be sorted out. We never looked like scoring that much yesterday. And in saying that, we opened them up and got in 3 gilt-edged chances. 1 to Odegaard, 1 to Smith Rowe. Should do better, right? They're not even falling to him. When was the last time he had a clear-cut opportunity? Wolves away, what happened? Didn't score it, didn't take it, like, you know. It's time for a change up there. I see teams, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to Lacazette and all that, like, those central defenders didn't wake up on Wednesday night or Thursday morning and think, oh my God, I'm playing against Lacazette today. What am I going to do? Like, I didn't do that. You know what I mean? They got up at their normal time, had their breakfast, and thought, well, I'm going to have a good game tonight. You know what I mean? You need to scare defenders. You can scare them with movement. You can scare them with pace. You can scare them like they did with us yesterday with physicality. He has none of that. You know what I mean? Like, when he gets into the box, he isn't sharp enough to get a shot off. You know what I mean? For me now, you've got to go with either Martinelli or Pepe or even Eddie up front. I know we're going to say this about Eddie. I'm going to say about that. Eddie come on yesterday and done okay, done better than Lacazette. That isn't appraisal of Lacazette, you know, sorry, of Eddie. You know what I mean? He couldn't do no worse, could he? I could have come on there and done better than Lacazette yesterday because he done absolutely contributed to the game nothing. If I was doing the player ratings yesterday and they come up to me and said how much for Lacazette, I'd have gone naught. I would have gone naught. Not good enough, like, you know what I mean? So where you're being ruthless with someone like Tavares, and I think, yeah, great. You know what I mean? I understand that. Now I want to see where he's ruthless now. This is what I want to say about Mikel. Mikel has got to find a solution to start us winning games of football, scoring a few goals, making it that if we do mess up somewhere along the line and tackling it doesn't go right, we can remedy it. At this moment in time, as soon as we went one goal down yesterday, we had no remedy, no formation, no nothing, no backup plan to get us back into that game. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not being horrible, Dan. We said on the sofa yesterday that you know, what should you do? I'll take Tavares off, put Xhaka in at left back and get Martinelli on. Like, I'm not paid £2 million a year to do that. We all don't. We all called that. He's got to do something. He's got to find something now. He's got to come out of with something that's going to take us to the top 4, 9 wins or nine results. It's down to him now. And if he doesn't do it, I'm afraid, you know, that what are you going to go next year and then go, oh no, like, you know, this is your time, Mikel. Do it. I'm very, very disappointed yesterday because I thought we would, you know, really smash through these games and set a precedent for next season. No, it's not going to be, is it? And I'm afraid that there's too many of these sort of performances in a season now, like, you know what I mean, for us to go, right, yeah, this is great. It's not. 9 defeats in a season does not get you new contracts and a bigger house and 6 more new Range Rovers. It does not.
I'm with you, mate, 100%. Kenny, let me bring you in on this super chat, mate, because I think it's important and I don't want to go into it too much, but the way it's been asked, I think it's a good question. Thanks so much for your kind super chat. Says Antonio Conte had a fight with Diego Costa. This was when he was at Chelsea, but he managed him well and he won the league. Selling Aubameyang will cost Mikel Arteta and his ego is too big. What do you make of that? Not just the fact, let's not go into, we shouldn't have sold Aubameyang. I think everyone realises why he went and that he had to kind of win that battle, I think, as you put, Ken. But Mikel Arteta has to now shut everybody up who was saying, oh, we should have kept Aubameyang. We should have kept Aubameyang. Mikel Arteta needs to somehow, either by committee or by getting goals through Lacazette, say, we don't need Aubameyang because we're scoring goals. But like Lee says, the goals are drying up. And people are always going to look at this, particularly, Ken, while Aubameyang is banging 9 goals in 9 games over at Barcelona. It just makes Arteta look silly. Whether you agree or disagree that Aubameyang should still be here or not, I think he needs to do something now to answer those critics. Do you agree, Ken?
Well, yeah, to a certain extent. But I think what's happened is that Arteta's methods and tactics were killing Oba long before Oba went to Barcelona in January. You know, let's not forget that there's no way back. You know, let's remember one thing. Obviously, Diego Costa and Conte weren't getting on, but it was kept in house. It wasn't. It was rumours mills around in dressing rooms, and obviously maybe a few in the Chelsea fan scene industry, maybe heard a few things, but it was kept in house. But we didn't put a lid on the situation with Aubameyang. The Spurs game last season, we left him out. We could have lied and said, that he had a bit of a knock, so we're going to play him, maybe the last 20 minutes, or not risking, but just keeping the bench just in case we're struggling. Well, we didn't. We said it was for disciplinary reason. We didn't just say it, to the mat, in the Queen Vic pub. We went around the whole world. So he's back. He's out as captain. There's no way back after that. And then afterwards, this season, the goals are dried up. The team, the way Arteta is building the team, there's a great emphasis of trying to get the best out of Saka, just like it was last season. Give the ball to Saka and he'll win the game for you. But Smith Rowe's come into it. He's trying to get Martin Odegaard further forward. So in terms of the way they're playing, the only player for me that could have worked in that system was lack of threat, no goals. Not Aubameyang, who basically, for me, plays his best football in the Martinelli position, but he can't get a game there, or he plays just off the shoulder. He can't play with his back to goal. He can't hold the ball up. That's not his game. You're killing him because he's an expert finisher. So we can always sort of try and put the genie back in the bottle, but you can't put the genie back in the bottle regarding this. Obviously, it was a massive risk because of the attention it was going to get. But let's not face it, he wasn't pulling up trees before, he went to Spain. Now, a lot of that's to do with him. A lot of that's to do with the fact that his managers killed him. And a lot of that's to do with the manager's tactics. So in that respect, no one comes at this with any credit. But the biggest thing was, why didn't you have a plan B after you couldn't get Vlahovic? Why was it Vlahovic or no one else? Why was Vinay, who was part of that transfer committee, trying to stick out his chest and say, "Oh, we only get players we want. We're not going to blah blah." It's just to say second-rate players. We only want the best, which is very commendable. But at this stage of the season, we did need another body in. We did body in because the squad's thin and we're still struggling with goals. Just because you don't get plan A, there's always plan B. A lot of teams over the years have never got their first choice strikers or first choice players. Plan B sometimes works out. What about take it away from football? What about loads of the massive films, right? You look at Raiders of the Lost Ark. Harrison Ford was not the first choice. It was Tom Selleck, but he turned it down. It was Harrison Ford. Look what happens. Right? Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones. But no, not a lot of people know he weren't the first choice. It happens in all walks of life. That's why I can never understand
Love that analogy.
why there were players we could have looked at in the Premiership who would have come in and done a job for us and got us over that line. Because it's not as if we didn't know we were going for a top four. We knew we were going for the top four. We knew we struggled for goals. We knew Lacazette was struggling. We were at the Burnley game, all banging our heads in, getting, basically cracking our shins in frustration. There was still enough time to get another body in, but we didn't. We sat on the fact and we said, right, let's just use all our money to get another 1,000 fans into our stadium so we can get a capacity close to Spurs and then make a token gesture of trying to buy players because we need 6 or 7 next season. So
yeah, we do.
We have to be honest with ourselves. By all means, try and change the ending of the film. Doesn't work. Try putting the genie back in the bowl. That doesn't work either. But let's just be honest with ourselves. No one comes out of any credit. Arteta, the club, and Oba himself.
Fair play. Let's hope it doesn't come to haunt us at the end of this season. Lee, let's come back to you. I want to talk about what this does result-wise to Arsenal for the remaining season, because this is my honest opinion, Lee. I don't think it actually changes much at the moment because it's still in our hands. All it's done is knock us. Where I do feel that we will struggle now is our injuries. And that's what I want to talk about with you and get your opinions on, because Thomas Partey is going to be a massive miss. I know he was absolutely awful last night, and he really was. but he was, I think, 2022, one of our best players, probably our best player, in my opinion. I'm with Kenny. Kieran Tierney, we saw how much we missed him last night. We're going to have to play either Nuno Tavares there, or we're going to have to try and change a formation if Arteta doesn't seem to want him. And I'll be very surprised after hooking him after 2 games if Nuno Tavares is going to play there. So looking at our remaining fixtures, looking at who we've got, we all know there's some tough games. We're going to have a different side for majority of the next few games upcoming without Tomiyasu, without Partey, without Tierney. Do you still have the confidence that we can go on a run and get this top 4 league?
Yeah, I'll tell you why, because it was just an absolute, disaster from every. Listen, no one played well. It was just a complete mess from start to finish. At the end of the day, sometimes you can get your teeth into that and start that. That will be a kick up the backside to the likes of Odegaard, who thinks it is made it at the moment with his performances. That's a shot down of earth to him. The same with Gabriel. Gabriel knows he's got to produce better performance. Can't go in lackluster. Same as Ben White. Same as them all. So I don't think it's such a bad thing there. It could be sometimes in a negative you find a positive. It could be, I don't know, that we put Saka in at left back and Pepe comes on and scores 10 goals in the next 5 games. I don't know, is what Kenny was saying. Or it could be Martinelli or someone like that. Whatever this does now, right, it opens up an opportunity for someone, whether it be Pepe, whether it be Martinelli, whether it be Lokonga, whether it be Tavares. It opens it up for someone. Take your chance. This is the Arsenal. Take your chance. Injuries, I'm sorry, people going to happen all the time. People go, oh, we haven't had these games and everything like that. We've had Tomiyasu out for 2 months. We've not missed Tomiyasu that much. Why? Because Cedric stepped up to the plate. That is what other players have got to do now. And as I say, it might be a formation change. It might be personnel change. Mikel Arteta has got to get it right. What we've got to do now is go out now and get the result against Brighton, and then we cannot go to Southampton and lose. What it means now is we have to go to Southampton and win. Difficult game. We must win that game. Then we go into those 3 big games. We go into those games when we know we've got to go and win them. And that is Chelsea, Manchester United, and we've got West Ham, Tottenham. We have got to win either at Chelsea, Tottenham, one of those 2 games, because I think that we can beat West Ham, because West Ham have got their eye on other things. I feel that I think Newcastle, I think most of them. The thing is, in Newcastle, I think a lot of those players know they're not going to be there next year. Blah 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 blah. Their job's done. So I feel that there. Southampton's always a tricky game, but we have got to go to one of those games and win. Now, if we go to Chelsea and we turn them over, and I know it's a big if, then this game is immaterial, right? Same as the Spurs game, you know what I mean? Or we've got to go to that Spurs game knowing that we've got to get something from it to keep our top 4 hopes alive. I think it's a massive, what's the word? I think it's massive that we didn't win this game yesterday, because I think that if we'd have won these next 3 games, I honestly said that. I've said it all before. If we'd have beaten Southampton, Brighton, and Crystal Palace, we would have got top 4. For those 3 games to get top 4, that's not a bad little thing, a little shout. We haven't got them, so we've now got to go and get a big game. Listen, we have still got an opportunity. I don't think that we're out of it. People are turning around and saying, "Oh, that's the end of the top 4." Right? No way is it at the end of it. You know what I mean? There's points to play for. Things can change in a heartbeat, like they can. You know what I mean? It wasn't as disastrous as everybody goes on about it, because Chelsea lost. Manchester United didn't have dropped points. Arsenal, it was a great weekend for them down the road, yeah? But next week it might be a great weekend for us. Who knows? Keep yourselves in it. Defend properly. Make sure you get the team right, Mikel, and we have still got a chance of top 4. End of.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on, Lee. And the way I see it is this: I do think there's going to be drop points, not just for us, but I do think there's going to be drop points at Spurs and Manchester United still as well. I mean, West
Mm,
Ham and Wolves, people are saying out of it. Even if they are still in it, I still think they'll drop points as well. So it's not like because we've lost to Palace, all of a sudden we can't get top four. It's still in our hands. But you're absolutely right. We do need to go to some of the big boys and do what we haven't been able to do this season, and that's win. The only team I think we've beaten is Tottenham. Everybody else we've lost. We've lost twice to
Yeah.
City, twice to Liverpool,
Yeah.
lost to Chelsea.
Okay.
We've got that's
mm.
got to get that to change, and we've got to use these final fixtures against those big boys, or those ones in the big six that are have got to be winnable for us. Kenny, let me come to you. I personally feel like we can afford to lose a couple of more points. I'm not saying that we can lose 3 or 4 more
Mm.
games, but I do think that because of the other teams around us being inconsistent, that there probably is the opportunity for us to be able to lose a couple more points
Mm.
and still be in and around the mix. What's your opinions on the top 4 race now? Has it changed your mind looking at last night? And let's bring in the injuries as well, because I think that's massive for me.
Well, before I had the debacle yesterday, I had you know, like mathematically, the Tottenham game being the sort of the alpha and
Decider.
omega, because
Yeah.
I've with the exception of Spurs' games um, game against Liverpool, I've got them winning every game going into our game. Now, in terms of Arsenal, I had us winning yesterday. Very overconfident. I know I probably deserve 50 lines and the detention for that, but I generally thought we were going to win the game. So in terms of like the points, I had us winning against Brighton as well, against Southampton, and then I had Chelsea. The negative part of me in my head says we wouldn't win that game, we would lose. Then I said I gave Man United as a draw. I had then I had West Ham as a draw, and then I had us pummeling in Leeds, and then going into like the Tottenham game, I had us 2 points ahead had we beaten Palace. So if we go mathematically again, mate, I had it neck and neck with Spurs on top by goal difference going into that game. So regardless of if my theory is right, then I still think that the game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is like a winner takes all. It really is, and I still think that definitely, even if we do drop points, I expect it because you know if we against we're not just talking about Chelsea. I'm saying that we'll probably draw against Man United because for some reason, you know, they're one of those teams that can find a way. They're not a great side, but for some reason, it's that with the players that have players, if they actually try it and gave it their all, it'll be difficult for us, especially with our injuries. And West Ham, I think, even if they do have their concerns with if provided they beat Leon, if they don't beat Leon and they're out of it, then they're going to give everything against us and a bit more. But even if they do have Barcelona to look forward to, that's if Barcelona get through. They're going to be playing for places for the game against Barcelona. Let's not get it twisted. We all assumed, well, I assumed yesterday that Crystal Palace were going to be on sort of easy street and relax in terms of like their personnel because they got a big semi-final with Chelsea. That wasn't the case. You know, a London derby is a London derby. And let's face it, West Ham got turned over by us at the Emirates. So their fans ain't going to allow their players to think, well, we've got Barcelona in about a few days. If they get through, that is. I'm going to say myself now, Moyes won't have that. And neither would their fans have that. So it's still going to be a difficult game. Let's not forget the game we had with them last season with no fans. It was 3-3 and we actually pulled it back. I do think that it's going to be that kind of game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This is going to be a very, very tough one, and it is going to get to a stage where we do go down to the wire. We're going to leave it there, chaps. It's been a pleasure. Thanks everybody in the chat. Thank you, Kenny Ken, for coming on. Thanks to everyone for listening
My
in
pleasure.
the audio. Always a pleasure having you
Also,
on,
I
my
want
man.
to say
And,
to the squaddies,
yeah,
look up, big up those squaddies.
big up the squaddies, big up everyone in the chat, and thanks so much for watching. We'll be back for another show later this week to preview the Brighton game, so please tune in for that. Until then, up the Arsenal. We'll see you next time. Take care of yourself, and come on, you Gunners.